You know that feeling when you look at your bank account on payday and wonder where all the money went before you even had a chance to enjoy it? Here is something that'll blow your mind. Your parents probably lived on one income, bought a house, raised kids, and still had money left over. Meanwhile, you and your partner both work full-time, pull in 2 solid paychecks, and somehow you are still living paycheck to paycheck. What is going on here? It feels like the more we earn, the broker we become. This isn't just bad luck or poor budgeting. You've walked straight into what I call the 2-income trap, and it is quietly destroying the financial futures of millions of hardworking people just like you. I am James, and I've spent years researching personal finance, digging into why smart, hardworking people struggle with money despite doing everything they're told to do. I share practical strategies to help ordinary folks break free from financial stress and build real wealth. If you are tired of feeling broke despite working harder than ever, you are in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button because what I am about to share could completely change how you think about your money and your future. So what exactly is the 2-income trap? It is the phenomenon where households with 2 incomes end up financially worse off than single-income households from previous generations. Here is the core problem. When families started sending both parents into the workforce back in the 1970s and 1980s, everyone assumed household income would double and life would get easier. And technically, household income did go up. But here is what nobody predicted. The cost of essential expenses skyrocketed at the exact same time, and they didn't just increase a little bit, they exploded. Housing costs, childcare, healthcare, and education all rose dramatically faster than wages. Even worse, our entire economy restructured itself around the assumption that every household has 2 incomes. This means that things that used to be affordable on one income now require 2 incomes just to get by. The second income didn't make families richer. It became a necessity just to maintain a middle-class lifestyle. And here is the kicker. That second income came with its own costs, eating up much of what it brought in. The trap snaps shut when families commit to fixed expenses based on both incomes, leaving them with less financial flexibility and more vulnerability than their single-income parents ever had. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in real life. Take Sarah and Mike, a couple in their mid-30s. Sarah works as a marketing manager making $65,000 a year. Mike is a software developer pulling in $75,000. Combined, they're bringing home about $140,000 annually. Sounds pretty good, right? Their parents would have killed for that kind of money, but here is their reality. They bought a modest 3-bedroom house in a decent school district for $450,000. Their mortgage payment is $3,000 a month. They have 2 kids, ages 3 and 5, and childcare costs them $2,400 monthly. That is before we even talk about groceries, utilities, car payments, insurance, student loans, and everything else. Between them, they're paying $900 a month in student loan payments. They each need a car to get to work, so that is another $800 combined in car payments and insurance. Add in healthcare premiums their employers don't cover, and they're spending another $600 monthly. We're now at $7,700 in fixed expenses before they've bought a single gallon of milk or filled up their gas tanks. After taxes, their actual take-home pay is around $9,500 a month. That leaves them with $1,700 for food, gas, clothing, home repairs, and trying to save something for retirement and emergencies. One unexpected expense, one medical bill, one car repair, and they're reaching for credit cards. Now compare this to Mike's parents back in 1985. His dad worked as a middle manager making $40,000 a year. His mom stayed home with the kids, adjusted for inflation. That $40,000 would be about $98,000 in today's dollars. They bought their house for $85,000, which would be about $210,000 today. Their mortgage was around $600 a month, or about $1,400 in today's dollars. No childcare costs because mom was home. One car payment, lower healthcare costs because insurance was more comprehensive and cheaper. They were living on one income that was lower than Sarah and Mike's combined income, yet they had more breathing room, more savings, and less financial stress. The difference isn't that Mike's parents were better with money. The difference is that the cost structure of middle-class life has fundamentally changed. Here is another example that really drives this home. Consider Jennifer, a single mom making $55,000 a year as a nurse. She is struggling, no question. Rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is $1,800 monthly. Childcare for her 6-year-old after school costs her $600. She is barely scraping by. Now meet Tom and Rachel, a dual-income couple. Tom makes $60,000 as a teacher. Rachel makes $55,000 as an accountant. Combined, they're pulling in $115,000, more than double what Jennifer makes. You'd think they'd be in a completely different financial situation, right? But here is what happened. Because they had 2 incomes, they qualified for a bigger mortgage. They bought a house for $500,000 with a mortgage of $3,500 monthly. They have 2 kids, so childcare runs them $2,600 a month. They need 2 cars, 2 professional wardrobes. They're paying for convenience foods because both work long hours. They've got higher tax brackets eating into their income. After all their fixed expenses, Tom and Rachel actually have less discretionary income than Jennifer. And here is the really scary part. Jennifer has more financial stability. If she loses her job, she can potentially find another nursing position relatively quickly. She can move to a cheaper apartment. She can cut expenses. If either Tom or Rachel loses their job, they lose half their household income overnight, but their mortgage stays the same. Childcare stays the same. Their whole financial structure collapses. They built their entire life around 2 incomes, and losing one is catastrophic. Let me give you one more example with actual numbers that'll make this crystal clear. In 1973, the median home price in the United States was about $28,000. The median household income was around $12,000. That means a house cost about 2.3 times your annual income. Fast forward to today, the median home price is around $400,000. The median household income is about $75,000. Now, a house costs 5.3 times your annual income. Housing has more than doubled in relative cost. But wait, it gets worse. That $75,000 household income today almost always requires 2 earners. Back in 1973, that $12,000 was often 1 income. So we're working twice as hard to afford something that is twice as expensive relative to our income. And that is just housing. College tuition has increased by over 500% since 1985. Even after adjusting for inflation, healthcare costs have tripled. Childcare in many cities costs more than college tuition, averaging over $15,000 per year per child. Now I know what you are thinking. You are probably saying, James, this is depressing, but what am I supposed to do about it? I can't change the entire economy. Both my partner and I have to work. We don't have a choice. I hear you, and you are right that you can't change the macro economy. But here is what you are missing. Understanding the trap is the first step to avoiding it. Most people walk into this trap blindly, making decisions based on what they can afford right now without considering the hidden costs and risks. Just because you can qualify for a certain mortgage doesn't mean you should take it. Just because everyone else is doing something doesn't mean it is financially smart. Some of you might also be thinking, but we need the nice house in the good school district. We need 2 cars. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities. I get it, and I am not saying they're not important, but here is the question you need to ask. Are you buying the lifestyle you need, or the lifestyle the bank says you can afford? There is a massive difference. The bank will approve you for the maximum mortgage you can possibly handle based on both incomes. They're not thinking about your financial security or your stress levels. They're thinking about their profits. When you max out your borrowing capacity, you are setting yourself up for the trap. Another objection I hear constantly is, we can't live on 1 income in today's economy. That is completely unrealistic. And you are partially right. For many families, 2 incomes aren't optional. But here is the critical distinction. There is a difference between needing 2 incomes to survive and structuring your life so that you need every penny of 2 incomes with 0 margin for error. The goal isn't necessarily to live on 1 income. The goal is to live on 1 income's worth of fixed expenses, so the second income provides flexibility, savings, and security rather than being completely consumed by bigger mortgages and more stuff. So what do you actually do about this? How do you escape the 2 income trap when you are already caught in it? Or avoid it if you are just starting out? Let me give you 5 concrete strategies you can implement starting today. First, when you are making major financial decisions, especially housing, calculate what you can afford on 1.5 incomes, not 2 full incomes. This builds in a safety margin if you are looking at houses. Don't ask what the bank will approve you for. Ask what you could afford if one of you lost your job, or had to take a lower paying position, or wanted to stay home with kids for a few years. This single strategy will keep you out of the worst aspects of the trap. It means buying less house than you qualify for, which feels weird because everyone around you is maxing out their budgets, but this is exactly how you build real financial security. Second, track your second income separately for 3 months and see where it actually goes. This is eye-opening. Take the second earner's after-tax income and subtract all the costs that exist, because that person works. Childcare. The second car payment and insurance, gas and commuting costs, professional clothing, convenience foods and takeout, house cleaning or other services you pay for because you are both working. For many families, that second income nets out to way less than they think. Sometimes it is only $15,000 or $20,000 of actual added value after all the associated costs. Understanding this real number helps you make better decisions about career changes, whether it is worth taking a higher stress job for slightly more money, or whether alternative arrangements might actually make sense financially. Third, aggressively pay down fixed expenses rather than lifestyle inflation. Every time you get a raise or bonus, resist the urge to upgrade your life. Instead, throw that extra money at your mortgage principal, car loans, or student debt. The goal is to reduce your fixed monthly expenses as quickly as possible. When your mortgage is paid off, or at least substantially paid down, or when you eliminate car payments, you dramatically reduce how much income you absolutely need every month. This creates freedom. You can take career risks. One person can shift to part-time. You can weather emergencies. Financial freedom isn't about how much you make. It is about how little you need to maintain your lifestyle. Fourth, build a real emergency fund that covers at least 6 months of expenses. And honestly, aim for 12 months. I know this sounds impossible when you are already stretched thin. But this is critical. Start small. Even $50 a month builds up over time. The emergency fund is what prevents you from spiraling into debt when the inevitable unexpected expense hits. More importantly, it is what protects you if one income disappears. Remember, the 2-income trap is most dangerous because families have structured their lives so that both incomes are mandatory. An emergency fund gives you options and time. Fifth, before taking on any new fixed expense, ask yourself this question. Does this require both incomes to maintain, and what happens if we lose one? This applies to everything: the bigger house, the private school tuition, the new car lease, the expensive gym membership. If the answer is that you'd be in serious trouble without both incomes, think very carefully about whether you really want to commit to that expense. Fixed expenses are the bars of the trap. Every new one you add makes the cage smaller. Look, I am not here to tell you that modern life is easy or that you can just opt out of the economy we live in. The 2-income trap is real and it is structural. But here is what I want you to understand. You have more control than you think. The trap works because people make decisions based on what they can afford right now without thinking about risk, flexibility, and long-term security. It works because we compare ourselves to everyone around us who is also caught in the trap, and we think that is just how life has to be. It works because the financial industry, the real estate industry, and frankly our whole consumer economy profits from you stretching yourself as thin as possible. But you can choose differently. You can choose to buy less house than you qualify for. You can choose to keep driving the paid-off car instead of leasing a new one. You can choose to build margin into your budget instead of maximizing your lifestyle. These choices feel weird because they go against what everyone around you is doing. But these are exactly the choices that lead to real financial security and freedom. The families who escape the 2-income trap aren't necessarily the ones making the most money. They're the ones who refuse to structure their lives so that every penny of both incomes is already spent before it arrives. They're the ones who build flexibility and margin into their finances. They're the ones who understand that the goal isn't to maximize your lifestyle. The goal is to maximize your freedom and minimize your stress. This isn't about deprivation or living. like you are poor when you are not. This is about being strategic with the biggest financial decisions of your life, so that you are not trapped, so that you have options, so that an unexpected job loss or health issue or desire for career change doesn't destroy your entire financial life. Your parents' generation often had this flexibility built in automatically because the economy was structured differently. You have to build it intentionally. If this resonates with you, if you are tired of working harder and feeling broker, if you want to break free from the cycle of two incomes and still not enough money, then subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because I guarantee you know someone caught in this exact trap. The path to financial freedom isn't about making more money, though that helps. It is about structuring your financial life so that you need less, so that you have margin, so that you have choices. That is real wealth. That is real freedom. And that is absolutely within your reach if you are willing to make different choices than everyone around you. Let's break free from this trap together.